WWH show. Today I'm so much excited to talk about a topic which is very close to my heart, which is why finding our voice contributes toward our success. In our studio, I have a great privilege to talk to Shona Bramble. She's an educator, communicator, and she's active in her community, and she cares about goals. Shona, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Today we're going to talk about why finding out our voices is very important to succeed.
Well, first of all, I'd like to start by saying there are 7 billion people in this world.
Yes.
7 billion people. That's a lot of people. And we're all very different. We're all very unique. But we're all sort of challenging and competing each other for the same jobs, for the same things in life, to do the same activities. How do we become successful? How do we stand out? So that's important for us to really think about. You and I might be in the same industry and we want to go after the same position, but unless I'm able to stand out in a particular way, no one's going to really take notice. Yeah. So it's very important to really find your voice. And it's not just about your physical voice itself, but it also includes your sense of style. It also includes your sense of purpose and where you want to go. So it's very important that you find that. And it could be in the workplace, it could be in your personal life, or in the activities that you do. So it's not just in one particular area in your life. It's important to really find your voice in just about everything that you do.
You're right. When we talk about finding our voice, which means not only our voice in terms of, we are unique. So we have to find that uniqueness and express it.
Yes.
And also, if we are organizations, we have to also find our voice, which means our brand.
Yes, absolutely.
That is our competitive advantage.
Absolutely.
As you said, as an individual, for example, myself, if I don't find my voice, which means my uniqueness, who I am, I cannot really compete successfully. And as you said, I cannot stand out. And I am just like everybody else, and people don't find any interesting thing to get from me because I'm just duplicating other people, copying other people.
Right, absolutely. And it's funny you mentioned the word brand, because recently I gave a speech in Toastmasters where I spoke about our club. I've joined Toastmasters in the past in order to help me to improve my communication skills and my leadership skills, and it's done quite a few things for me. But what I've learned about whether you're representing an organization or your company, that you are a brand. A lot of companies these days, you think about big companies like the Gap company, or even some other large companies, when you think of their salespeople, they consider themselves brand ambassadors because they're representing that particular brand. We are our own brand. Each individual person is their own brand. So what do you bring to the table? How do you present yourself physically? How do you speak? How do you engage with other people? That's all part of your brand because people are going to remember that. So I think it's very important that you touched on the term brand, and it's becoming a more popular word these days, but I think it's very important to really understand that creating a brand that people are going to understand and creating a brand that's going to be successful for you in the future is something that we all must do. It's very important that we do that.
Why those people and also organizations which found their voice, their brand, are succeeding?
Well, they're succeeding because they're doing a number of things. They're really looking into themselves. They're doing exercises where they're examining who they are at this current moment. They're looking at where they've been, and they're looking to more importantly, where they want to go to. So they're doing some examination. Let's say, for instance, you're a writer. You want to become a writer. You want to be a successful writer. You would start probably doing things like determining what your own style of writing is. But you'll also look to other people that you find as successful writers to see what's their style, how do they write to their audience, and start to think about some of those things in order to create your own style. So it's good to really kind of get an idea from other people that are in similar fields without exactly copying them. Same thing if you're a singer. There may be other singers that influence you. Some of the greatest singers in the world, they're influenced by other singers. So it's important that they know who they want to be, who to sort of look at as a model, and put that all together and figure out who they want to be for themselves as a unique person, as a unique individual. What makes you successful is that you start to stand out. When you understand yourself more, you start to stand out because there's a sense of confidence and there's a sense of purpose within yourself. If you're just sort of out there and you're all over the place and you're not so sure where you're going, people are not going to pay attention. But if you enter a room and you have presence, you know who you're about, you know what your brand is, and you know what you're bringing to others, people are going to pay attention. And that's very important. And that's what makes you successful, because you appear to be successful, and then, you know, you're able to do certain things.
You know, I never met any successful person who didn't identify and found his voice or her voice.
Right.
The moment I see somebody who is successful, somebody who is confident, the moment I identified that that person found a voice,
Absolutely.
his or her own voice.
Absolutely.
So I see that there is correlation between success and finding who you are, your brand and your voice.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you, what is your brand, or what makes you unique, or...
You know, I think there are a number of things that make me unique. I think I have been able to embrace the different parts of my personality. I am from the Eastern Caribbean. I'm from St. Vincent, a very small island. And I have an accent, as you can tell, and as many of your viewers can probably tell by now. And so I think very early in my life, I used to think of my accent as being something that's, you know, maybe negative, that people wouldn't understand me. Maybe I speak a little fast. But now I'm using my accent in a way in a positive way, because people find it to be very nice and very soothing. So I use that as part of what my brand is, and really try to emphasize my accent and emphasize the way that I speak. But more than that, I've looked at myself inwardly, and I've thought about, what is it that I want to contribute? What is my purpose? What do I want to share with others? And I think once I was able to identify those things, then I started to feel more confident within myself. And so that started to become a part of my brand. I think the exterior things as well, external things as well, matter. The way you dress, the way you present yourself. I like things that are uncomplicated. I love to look nice. I love the color combination of black and white. It's something that I wear quite a lot, and I'm wearing right now.
Today?
And so that has really become a part of my brand and who I am. But, you know, I think being able to know for myself who I am, and the people who are looking up to me, and what I'd like to give to them, what my purpose is in this world, I think that's allowed me to be much more confident. And so that has really added to my brand. I think people look at me as someone who's passionate, someone who's thoughtful, somebody who is always trying to inspire others. And because I know that that inspiration piece is very important, I carry myself in a certain way, because there are others that are looking at you, and there are others that are modeling you. And I want to make sure that I'm giving off positive
and clear brand.
Yes, yes.
Uniqueness. By the way, I like that you mentioned your accent, and that didn't stop you from voicing who you are. No. But unfortunately, there are many people. I myself, initially, I was struggling because I had accent, still accent.
Yes.
But initially, when I came to the United States, it was in 2005. At that time, many Americans, they couldn't be able to understand me. So they asked me, "What did you say?" So it was a little bit bothering. I thought I know English very well.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, when I was in Ethiopia, I remember when I applied for visa to come to the United States, the visa officer, she said, "Where did you learn your English? Your English is good." I think she was comparing me with other people whose English language is, you know, secondary.
Right.
I mean, not their mother tongue. But when I came to the United States, where everybody is a native speaker, it was very hard for me to communicate.
Right.
But that didn't stop me. I started to learn how to acquire the American accent, at least to be understood by the majority of the people in the United States. Otherwise, I couldn't be able to express my voice.
Right.
So people have choice. We're going to talk about what stops people from expressing their voice. Yeah. One of the reasons is because we have this lack of confidence about who we are, and our accent is part of who we are. Yeah. So we should not be ashamed of it. Of course, we have to improve it so that people may understand us, but that should not stop. If my accent stopped me at the early stage of my stay in the United States, I wouldn't be able to be here right now. I have improved my English, I expressed myself, I continue to express, even if there were disappointing times where I was unable to effectively communicate with native speakers. So it's very important for people to understand that who they are is unique. They should not be ashamed of it.
Absolutely.
That should not stop them from expressing who they are. We're going to talk about what stops people from expressing themselves.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about a little bit about my brand too.
Okay.
I have worked on my uniqueness, on my voice. It took me long, but I discovered that my passion is empowering other people. It could be to help them understand who they are,
Yes.
and then pursue that uniqueness
Yes.
by being a leader of their passion, their calling, their purpose, their mission in life.
Yes.
So that's my brand. Wherever you find me, I attempt to empower people. Tell people that, hey, like in this topic, you have to find your voice.
Yes.
To be successful, you have to first find your brand, your voice, your
Yes.
uniqueness.
Absolutely.
I try to empower people. That's my passion. That's where I find myself getting energy. So I think this is my uniqueness. This is my voice. That's why I went to take a doctoral degree on leadership.
Leadership, wonderful.
I opened 3 organizations which are arms for me to empower people. They are in different industries, but all of these 3 organizations attempt to empower individuals and organizations.
Great.
So my advice to our audience is you have uniqueness, find that uniqueness. That's where your competitive advantage. Once you find it, most importantly, express it. Bring it out. Don't fail to express it.
I want
Yes.
to touch on something else that coming back to the accent situation. I have worked with, I've mentored a lot of people in Toastmasters, in communications, and I've had people say that to me, oh, I'm scared to speak because I have an accent, or, they're struggling to really learn the English language. And it's something I always try to encourage people that, if you have a weakness in that area, there are going to be strengths in other areas. So maybe you're someone who's really funny and you have a great sense of humor, or you're self-deprecating. Use those things to really help you balance the fact that you may not be able to speak perfect English. And I think that's where there's some compromise there, and that's where I can really encourage someone that don't get so hung up on the fact that I can't say this word the way Americans say it. Get more concerned about the fact that you have a great sense of humor, or you have a great sense of style, or, you're somebody that's fun to be around, you have a great smile. Those are the things that really help you to become the person who you want to be and people can identify with.
I met many communicators who have, accent. I remember once I listened to the chairman of the National Speakers Association of the DC chapter. He's, I think, from Europe, and he has accent, and you can tell it. And it's a little bit difficult even for me to completely understand what he was saying. But he was the president of the chapter, and one of the reasons why he's there, of course he's smart, of course he's a good communicator. One of the reasons is what you said. He has this sense of humor. He depreciates himself. He gives some jokes and so on. So people really don't care much about his accent. Even they like it because he brings his uniqueness, who he is, his voice, by using sense of humor. So yes, you're right. For example, if I have unique content where people cannot find anywhere else, it doesn't matter about my accent.
Absolutely.
You say, okay, I have difficulties to listen to this guy. Maybe the melody, his rhythm, and so on, tone I may not like it. But at least he has some content, something to offer. So I can bear, I can, forget, forgive and just listen to what he says or read what he writes. So we have to understand that there are some strengths we have. We have to bring those strengths so that we can compensate our accent. So, but this bringing our voice, finding our voice is very difficult and hard for many people. Why do you think it's very hard?
I think there are a lot of challenges. I think that people are always fearful, especially in the world of communication and trying to speak out. I'm going to talk about speaking specifically in public and being a public speaker. I think people are always worried about what are other people thinking about them? What are the perceptions? What if they make a mistake? Then what would people think about them then? And it's this sort of trying to be perfect in this. And I think that's the thing that people fail at. It's you're not trying to be perfect. You're trying to present your best self. None of us are perfect, and we're never going to be perfect. I'll give you a great example where I gave a speech one time. It was in a Toastmasters club, and I was so excited about this speech. It was an inspirational speech. I was just, it was going very well. I was feeling very confident. And in the middle of the speech, I forgot what I was saying.
Oh, it happens, yeah.
And I was so embarrassed at that point, and I was thinking to myself, okay, how do I get back on track? How do I get back on track? And everyone was just sitting there looking at me quietly, and I thought, Shona, you've done this a million times. How is it that you've forgotten in the middle of the speech what you're saying? And so I started to remember in my head the different parts of the speech that I had designed. And I started to pick back up where I was. And I got to the very end of the speech, and there was rousing applause, and people stood up, and it was just, and I thought to myself, wow, I didn't even do that well. I broke up in the middle, and they're still applauding. But it had nothing to do with that part of my delivery. No, it had all to do with my content and my passion, and the fact that I was giving them information that they were so excited to hear, and they were really listening, and they were involved. And so I was giving them everything that I had, and they saw that. So that little, blooper didn't
Maybe
really
they
matter
didn't
to
even
them.
notice it. We are the one who give permission other people.
Yes.
For example, I like what Eleanor Roosevelt said, the former First Lady of the United States. She said that no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. So we are the one who feel inferior, or we are the one who feel bad about ourselves. Unless we allow that, other people don't really tap into that. So we are the one allowing other people to judge us, to consider us inferior. If we have confidence, for example, if you didn't have confidence, you might have walked away from the stage running
Yes, I
or
probably
ashamed, and the story would have been a different story.
Yes.
Rather than getting that standing ovation,
Yes.
people might have laughed, or
Yes.
you wouldn't have come back again
Absolutely.
to speak, and you wouldn't have been even here.
Absolutely.
Because of that embarrassment,
Absolutely.
because of the confidence you have, the content you have.
Yes.
Even if you stumbled, you
Yes.
stood there, recollected yourself, and then came back to where you forgot about your speech.
Yes.
So it's very important for us to know that nobody is perfect.
No, not at
Nobody is perfect, and always we cannot make it. In this studio, I stumble so many times. I ask the editors, hey, take out this part. I stumble. Sometimes I want to remember a name.
Yes.
I have the quotation, but I don't have the name.
Yes.
And I just stuck there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it happens. We're not perfect. The most important thing is our desire. What
Yes.
motivates us.
Yes.
What motivates me is I want to empower people based on my own stories, my own experiences from my readings, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
That should be my preoccupation.
Absolutely.
In that case, I could be able to bring out my voice. But the
Absolutely.
challenge for many people, as you said, first of all, that lack of confidence about who they are.
Yes.
But if they know that, I always tell people, scientific discoveries where you have fingerprint, which is unique. 7 billion people you mentioned.
Yes.
They don't have your fingerprint.
No, they don't.
They don't have your retina scan.
Exactly.
They don't have your heartbeat.
Right.
They don't have your unique features.
Right.
And so on and so forth. So you are designed uniquely. You are the only one in this world walking, breathing with that
Yes.
personality, with that brand.
Yes.
If you don't express your voice, your uniqueness, you are really denying the world that uniqueness. You are really
Absolutely.
betraying the very essence of who you are as a human
Absolutely.
being. We are here
Absolutely.
not just to live for ourselves. We expressed in this world uniquely, and we are present, presents to the rest of the world, gifts to the rest of the world. Why don't we present that gift to the rest of the world by becoming confident, by knowing that we are unique? So if people understand that they are unique, they don't look at, because the problem is, one of the things that makes very hard for people is cultural things.
Right.
In some
Absolutely.
cultures, people are
Absolutely.
discouraged when they
Absolutely.
voice their uniqueness.
Absolutely.
If I say, my calling, my passion, my purpose is leadership, I want to empower people to know themselves and to pursue their destiny and get fulfilled. Some people say, who do you think you are?
Right. Right. That's true.
Or they think that, this is not important to our community
true.
or
That's
to our
true.
organization. Our need is maybe just to feed the poor.
Right.
Just deny who you are, come and
Right.
help to feed people. Mostly I say no. Some people come up to me and say, we have this program, this project, we want you to be part of the board, part of this. I tell them that, okay, I can support you,
Right.
but I'm not passionate in this thing.
Right.
I can only give you
Right.
something that I know. For example, I can be in your board to help you well-structured organization, because that's my experience, that's my expertise, and also maybe I may mentor your board members and your people. I can help you in that regard, but don't expect me to stand on stage and promote this thing, because you are better if you do that. Me, I don't have that calling, that passion.
Yeah.
So we have to say sometimes no to people's pressure to deny our voice, our uniqueness.
You know, that's a very, very important point that you made. I love that fact that you said that you sometimes say no, because when it comes to finding your own voice, you don't want to fit into somebody else's idea of who you're supposed to be, or sort of drive their passion. You want to drive your passion and what's within you and what you want to do. You know, there are a lot of people out there that are just sort of floundering and trying to figure things out. And if someone tells them to do this, they do it just because they want to be liked. Or sometimes you're not going to be liked. When you're trying to find your own self, you're not going to be liked fully. And you have to be comfortable with that, and you have to be okay with that, because you're trying to establish who you are fully as a person. You also mentioned about cultural issues. I remembered growing up as a child in the Eastern Caribbean, when, you know, they would tell children, if a child was too talkative and stuff like that, they would say, you know, be quiet, you know, just stand in the corner, speak when you're spoken to. And though that's good, I think a lot of times we think how we think about children, because we have some future speakers. Little kids love to speak. I think, you know, that really comes to the encouragement of children when they're that chatty and that talkative. Try to channel that energy somewhere else so you can help them to communicate. I remember being very young and being a little bit shy. I was very involved in different things in school, but I was very shy to get up in public and speak. And to the fact that there was a debate team that I was on, that I had to go and present something, and I faked laryngitis because I didn't want to go because I was so scared. But if I had the right kind of encouragement to get me going, that would have helped me. But so I do identify what you're saying in terms of the cultural element of it, and I agree.
I can give
fully.
you one quotation, one saying from our culture, which is, silence is gold. Think about it. Now, you are appreciated, you are encouraged to be silent, which means you are discouraged to voice who you are, to bring your uniqueness. And that's not good, because I admire people who are calm listeners, but it's different when we are silenced. We should be listeners. You know, I should not talk and just jam you. I have to listen also. It's good to listen.
Absolutely.
But to silence who you are, your voice is not advantageous, not only for the individual, but also the community and the organization. People should be allowed to voice, express who they are.
Absolutely.
Culturally speaking, one of the things people find it difficult to find their voice and express it, because, for example, there are some standards in the community. Let's say that this and this kind of persons are handsome, beautiful, tall people, or maybe, you know, superstars. You know, they are the one people appreciate as, you know, beautiful, handsome, and so on and so forth. If I am not handsome, or if I'm not tall, as you can tell, I'm not tall, I'm short. So some people, you know, they just look at their external physical thing, and they assume that that's who they are, but they're not, because physically you didn't choose who you become, because the DNA came from your parents, your parents from the grandparents, and so on. So you didn't have any choice to be who you are physically, but that's not who you are. So some people, when they find themselves not, you know, fit into the description of greatness in their community, they assume that they are not meant to be great. They're not meant to be expressive of who they are, to stand before people, to stand in the middle of their communities, in their organizations, in their peers, to say that this is who I am, this is my passion, this is my calling, this is my mission in life, and I want to help my community, I want to serve my organization. Because their physical appearance, their education, and so on, these are not who they are. So that's one of the challenges people are facing. They mix who they are with what they are. Because they count their background, their bloodline, their education, their physical appearance, and they say, oh, I'm not good enough to contribute something to the...
Right.
So it's denying the very community they love, the very organization they want to serve. So they have to overcome this challenge,
Yes.
defile this kind of,
Yes.
what I call prototyping.
Yeah.
Because there is no one perfect person in this
No, there
world,
isn't.
perfect
No,
model
there
in this
isn't.
world, externally.
No, there isn't.
So we all bring some beauty into the world. We have to find that beauty and be proud and bring out who we are, our uniqueness.
And you know, that's why I really like working with young women and girls, because in terms of encouraging them and empowering them to do certain things, I think there's a lot of women, young women, if they're not a size 2, or if they're not a this, or if they don't meet that standard of beauty that we look at these days when we think of these celebrities who, of course, can pay thousands of dollars to look really beautiful, and with the proper lighting can look gorgeous and stuff like that. I know what lighting can do, you know, but the thing is, we have to get back to the core of who we are. And maybe I'm not the tallest person in the room, but I can speak to the people who are my height, and I can speak to the people who have the same beliefs that I do. So it's really stripping away those things that society says that we should be. You know, I remember when I was a teenager, I wanted to be a model, and I tried the modeling thing, and it didn't work out quite well. And there was a gentleman who was a designer that told me one time that I had to put in very long extensions, and he wanted me to fix my teeth so that I didn't have the curve in my teeth. And I thought, well, gee, those things are what make me special.
That's uniqueness, yeah.
And I still think I'm beautiful with that. I don't have a perfect face, but I'm happy with my face. And I'm not, 6'2". A lot of these models are very tall, but I'm comfortable in who I am within my own skin. And I think that's where my purpose becomes very important, because so many girls, and now these days you've got the web, you've got television that's telling them that there are certain standards, as you said, and they're trying so hard to keep up. They're doing these things that are hurting them to keep up with what our community says and what the culture says that, the standards should be. And that's really difficult. That's really difficult for them. We have to embrace who we are, what that uniqueness that we bring to the table. There are some people who are shy about their very talents, but those are things that some people don't have. If you write poetry, don't hide it. Bring it out to the world. Let them see that you're creative in that way. If you like to write stories, bring them out to the world. And so whatever it is that you do, bring those things to the world and show people who you are, because you might inspire someone else to do the same thing.
Yeah, I meet many people, especially because I'm a trainer, I'm a coach, a consultant. I go out to meet people. I find great people, unique people. At the same time, I find some people who hate themselves. They don't embrace who they are. They complain about this and that, and that stops them from voicing their uniqueness.
Yes.
Here is what Maya Angelou said. She said, success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it.
Absolutely.
So my advice to our audience is, to be successful, the first thing you should do is to like yourself. It's not selfishness, because many people think that, oh, you like yourself, you are selfish. I can tell this to our audience. If you don't like yourself, it's unlikely that you like other people.
Right.
You give respect, admiration, and appreciation to others, the level you appreciate, the level you admire yourself. If you despise yourself, it's likely that you despise other people.
True.
You cannot
Very
love
true.
more than you love yourself. That's why we have very strange leaders, dictators and so on. They hate themselves. That prompt them also to despise other people, to consider them just like jerks or nothing. They kill them, they consider them like biological accidents.
Right.
If they had respect for themselves, they would have given that respect to other people. So liking ourselves is not selfishness. So the moment I like myself, which means the moment I embrace myself, who I am, then I am be able to bring out my uniqueness.
Absolutely.
I'm bold.
Absolutely.
Even if people say, oh, you're short, or maybe you're this and that. I don't care. That's not who I am. And that's not what I give to the world. Because the world doesn't need me to be a basketball player.
Exactly.
I may not play basketball. Maybe I may not play, soccer and so on. But for the assignment I have, for the mission I have, I can contribute that. I can serve I may not entertain them, but I could be able to empower them to know who they
Absolutely.
are, because I passed through so many challenges before I reached to this confidence.
Yes.
Because so many people intimidated me, situations intimidated me,
Yeah.
but I overcame them. That's why I'm here telling to our audience, especially the young ones, and also parents. Parents, you play a key role. If you tell
Absolutely.
your children while they are young that they are unique, they should not look at their face or their physical appearances. That's a great thing to offer to your children. You can shape their future, their destiny, if you give them confidence at the early stage of their life so that they like it. They like who they are. But the problem is many parents, without knowing, they depreciate their people. You this and that. You stupid. You're short. You're this and that. Children, they hear these things and they assume that that's who they are, and they feel that they are not relevant to their community. They don't have anything to give to the world. So we are killing destinies because we're not saying the right words.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
maybe parents, even friends, and our peers are the ones that are stopping us from voicing our uniqueness.
Right. Yeah, and we have to, we really have to encourage kids to speak up and to be very unique. I had an experience maybe about a year ago where a young lady at the school where I used to work, she came into my office one day, and everybody had sort of labeled her as sort of like a girl that was just sort of all over the place and was very tough and didn't listen to anyone. And so that put these labels on her, which I thought, well, what is it about this young lady that they keep talking about her in that way? And then I heard her speak from a distance, and then I called her and I said, let's talk for a little while. And I started to find out things about her. And before you know it, she was telling me that she wanted to be a judge someday. First she wanted to go to law school, of course, and she wanted to study, and she wanted to move to New York, and she wanted to do these things. And I said, I think that's a great plan. I said, well, do you know that it starts, in high school? You have to really start to build your grades and do what you need to do to get into a good law school and keep moving further. And then there was a sadness about her. And I said, you're quite unique, There's something very special about you. She said, no, I'm not special. There's nothing special about me. And I said, what do you mean? She said, oh, I'm just regular. I said, you just came in here with this hairstyle that you've got all these different colors intertwined, and you're wearing it so confidently, and you don't think that you're unique? I said, I don't see a lot of kids doing that, where you've got this style that really defines who you are. You're interesting. You're very interesting to me, and you're going to be interesting to others. And so I saw the look in her face, and it was just sort of like, I had a feeling that nobody had ever told her that she's special in that sort of way. And I started talking to her about her school, and I said, well, how are you doing with your grades? And she said, I could do better. And I said, well, what are you going to do to make it better? And she said, well, I'm going to do this, Ms. Bramble, and I'm going to do that. I said, from now on, every week, I want to see you in my office, and I want to know how you're doing. And she started to come back and look for me, because I gave her that little bit of encouragement there. Yeah. And other people overheard that, and I'm happy that they overheard that, because it's our responsibility, each of us, each and every one of us, to help others, to help children, to really get to their potential. The community is there, our neighborhoods are there, and sadly our communities are separating even more these days. Everybody's so busy, and we have 2 or 3 jobs, and we're doing so many things that we don't have the time and attention to pay to a lot of kids sometimes, and then sometimes they go onto the wrong path. But it really is up to us to really sort of reel them in and give them that encouragement that they need. If they're artistic, help them along the way. Recently I took on the role of being a mentor for one of my younger cousins who loves to draw, who loves fashion and all of that stuff. And I felt really honored to be able to take on that role in her life, because I remember being a young girl growing up, I felt different because I was so creative, and thank God for the gifts that I have. I think God was really generous with me because he gave me so many talents and so many gifts. But sometimes we can have those gifts and talents and not know what to do with them. And we need people around us to help us to encourage them, so we can really hone those skills, and we can really, sort of massage them into being the thing that makes us, ourselves and unique, and have that purpose that we need to have.
So how can we express our voice? Finding it one thing, finding our uniqueness is one thing, but how can we express that voice, that uniqueness to the world?
The way we express ourselves, I think for each individual it's going to be different. We have to find a niche. We have to find a place where what we're doing, that people understand, people around us understand what we're doing, what we're trying to do, like-minded people. It's also important to, I think, to have mentors, people in your life that would help you get yourself to where you need to get to. I have several mentors in my life that help me in specific areas, whether it's business or the creative things that I do. And that's very helpful for me because it helps me to get to where I need to get to. But I think, for instance, if a child is really into writing, it's important for them to look at other writers. It's important for them to find a venue where they can write freely, where they can really have their words out there, and that's where the mentor comes in, someone who can look at their work and give them validation as to this is what you're doing well, and maybe there's some areas that you can get better on, give them some good feedback. I think children appreciate that. Kids are a lot smarter than we think. You know, they're a lot smarter. They have a lot of ideas. You know, recently I was looking at online on Instagram and Facebook. There is this site called Humans of New York, and this is this guy in New York who brings these very unique stories by taking photographs, and each photograph tells a different story. And there was a child this week she was very young, maybe 6 or 7 years old. She had this beautiful imagination about this country that she wanted to create. And I thought, wow, somebody's really encouraging her to really, at that age, to really think about that. And she had these names of these special restaurants that she was going to have in this beautiful country that she created. And I thought, someone is nurturing that. There's someone nurturing that. We must allow, you know, kids and even adults to really have that venue, that place where they can express themselves. And they can bring that part of themselves out.
Yeah, by the way, it's very important, as you say, to deposit important things in the lives of especially young people, because here is a quotation: what lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. This is a quotation from Henry Stanley Haskins. Wow. So he's saying that what is powerful is within us. So many times people look at their history and that drags them behind, you know, to slow down.
Right.
People are scared and feared of the future. But the most important thing, the most powerful thing is within us that can overcome our past and that can take us to the future. So teaching, educating people may help them to express who they are and to express their dreams.
And, you know, just to add to that as well, there's a lot that we can do as community, I think, as organizations. You know, when I think about my journey as a speaker and the fact that one of the companies that I worked for, they had a program, they had a Toastmasters club, actually, that I joined. I was one of the initial members. And to acknowledge the soft skills within organizations, to acknowledge these skills for adults, because it's important that people know that they can improve these skills. You know, not everybody is going to be an expert in a particular science or a particular area, some particular field, but if they have those soft skills that they can improve on, I think that makes a huge difference. So organizations that do have funding, you know, to assist people to, you know, whether it's take some sort of, take some training, take some classes, and, you know, okay, it doesn't have to do with their job, but that's what you need. That's what people need, that part, that those soft skills are so very important to have.
By the way, I like this idea. I also work as a trainer for an IT company. Normally what they do, most of the IT projects and programs, they provide hard skill trainings, for example, about hardware, software, network, troubleshooting, and so on. They don't pay attention to the soft skill.
Wow.
They help these people to develop hard skills. They go out there, and it's very hard for them to express themselves, to communicate with the client, to understand the values of their organization, you know, promote the brand of that organization, and so on. It's very difficult because they were not given soft skill trainings. But this particular program, they blend both hard skills and soft skills.
Wow.
So when I provide training, I provide both the hard skills because my background, I have master's in computer science. So I provide the hard skill part, and also I also give the soft skill, which is conflict resolution, communication, time management, cultural diversity, and so on and so forth. As you said, you know, people, I may be excellent in terms of my passion, for example. I'm an artist. or maybe I'm an IT guy, or maybe I'm a researcher. I could be a science guy. I could be this and that. But if I don't have the softer skill, I cannot really express who I am, and I could not really create a very successful team. I cannot serve my clients, my organization very effectively. So it's very important. But this is for organizations. We can also help individuals.
Of course.
Organizations like Toastmasters, for example. You can go there. It's a very friendly place where you have like-minded people, people who understand why you are there. You are there to improve your communication skill, because knowing yourself is the first half of the equation. You have to express it. To express it, you have to train yourself. You have to practice it. And I would like also to mention that expressing yourself, I mean, first of all, those maybe 3%, 5% people that we consider in our community successful are people, not only they identified their voices, they also succeeded in terms of expressing it. But finding our voice, as far as I'm concerned, it may take us to awake, which means to be self-aware, to know what's our uniqueness, what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses. I like a quotation here which says, if you want to make your dreams come true, the first thing you have to do is wake up. I want to repeat it. If you want to make your dreams come true, the first thing you have to do is wake up. This is JM Power. So to know who I am, to find out my voice, I have to be self-aware. I have to sit down. I have to find time, at least 30 minutes per week, and then find out and fine-tune it. But the very challenging thing is to take out that uniqueness, that voice into the world, because the world is very challenging. You can't just express yourself. The world, your environment may not be friendly. I can quote you one quotation. To be nobody but yourself in the world which is doing its best night and day to make your everybody else means to fight the hardest battle which any human being can fight and never stop fighting. Which means, this is from E.E. Cummings. He said that it's very hard in this world because the world tries to make you like everybody else, to be copied. And you can't succeed. You can't become unique. You can't serve your organization and your community if you're not serving with your talent, with your strength. But that requires you to stand up, to fight continually.
Well, I have an example. You talk about really, redefining or defining your skills and your talents and things like that. There are two celebrities that stand out to me. One of them is Tina Turner. The other one is Pink. Both American artists. Wonderful singers who I really, really do admire, and they both have gone through evolutions in their singing and in their craft. And I'm going to pinpoint Pink. When she first came on the scene, she was mostly doing R&B music, and she said, I remember she said somewhere that that really wasn't her. She wasn't really feeling it. She wasn't in tune with it. It was what the people in the industry were telling her that she needed to be doing because it was the hot thing at that time. And she resisted. She actually decided that, you know what, no, this doesn't feel like me. I want to do certain things that's going to really affect me so that I can affect others. And so she turned to, I think it was Linda Perry. She's a person who's more or less into rock and much of a different type of singer. And she started collaborating with her. And her next album, which everybody thought was in the industry was going to not be successful, ended up being the start of what her career is now, which is extremely successful, because she decided that she was not going to sit back and have someone determine how she was going to be and how she was going to evolve and how she was going to define herself as an artist. And I think we all have to do that. We all have to look within and say, okay, these are the things that I want to do. This is how much time it's going to take for me to do this. When I started writing speeches and things like that, I would spend hours just going through the content, doing the research. But more than that, I would say my speeches in my car. I would actually mouth them in my car, and I thought, well, people must be thinking that I'm crazy. But it's okay, because I'm practicing. I'm trying to get to the part where I'm perfecting this craft, because I want to do well. I want to be really good at what I'm doing. So it does take dedication, as you mentioned. It takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. We have to keep building on these skills. And we all evolve as human beings. I'm not the same Shona I was 10 years ago. The Shona 10 years ago was a little bit more nervous about maybe even coming on a show like this. The Shona 10 years ago would not be thinking of all these brand new ideas. I'm working on an idea of putting out a book this year. So we evolve a little bit and we start to challenge ourselves. And we have to challenge ourselves, or else we're going to be static. We're going to be in the same place.
I don't know where you were 10 years ago, but I can tell that the Shona I know is the president of the Universally Speaking Club, and also the one who opened the Christmas lights for White House last year. Christmas lights. So if you didn't fight, the presenter. So you came to that position where I mean it's rare. It's once in a lifetime kind of opportunity where you present at that kind of Christmas lighting at the White House. So many people don't have that chance.
Right.
But if you didn't fight, if you didn't give it what you have, do you think you're going to be in this kind of opportunities?
Absolutely not. No. And one of the things when you're really thinking about finding your voice, there are a few steps that you have to take, and I think I mentioned it, but the one that's really the number one thing is knowledge, right? But the knowledge is two parts. It's knowledge of the external, the things that you have to look for, the things you have to research, but it's also the knowledge of self. That is the most important thing when you're really trying to establish your voice. Because unless you believe in yourself, as you mentioned earlier, no one else is going to believe in you. Nobody else is going to understand what you're trying to do. So you have to have that belief in yourself first. But in order to really build, your purpose and build who you want to become, you have to make sure that you understand that you're going to fumble sometimes. You're going to make mistakes sometimes. It's not going to be smooth sailing all the time. And that's a reality that we're faced with. Everybody's trying to be perfect and reach this status of perfection, but it's never going to be there. Just do your very best. And trust me, somebody's going to be looking on and somebody's going to believe in you and what you have to say and what you're saying.
Yeah, you have to first pay your due. You paid your due, you are still paying your due. I myself, I'm on the learning curve, improving myself every day, every week. I give time to grow myself, learn from other people, read books, reflect, think, connect dots, and so on, improving myself. So that's the due I should pay. But, here is the thing. People around you may push you hard, may not appreciate what you bring, or may not appreciate who you are, your uniqueness. It's okay. That's the thing in this world. People, maybe even in your lifetime, may not appreciate you. And then the next generation may celebrate you. You don't know. So people initially may not appreciate you. And then they celebrate you. They look for your words. They quote them. They ask you to sign for them autograph, and so on and so forth. So at the initial stage, it's discouraging. So that phase, it could take you. Many research showed that it may take you 10 years to be the go-to person in that field. That means if it takes you a decade, invest on it. If you ask me, I started leadership 20 years ago, but focused on becoming a leadership expert starting 2008. It has taken me so far how many years? 7 years. Maybe it may take me another 3 years until I become maybe a recognized expert. So if we think that we can just bring out our uniqueness today and be successful in a year, 2, 5 years, it's not possible.
No,
and also one of the challenges that I see from some people is that they fear failure. But John Maxwell says, fail forward, which means every failure that you may encounter while you are trying to bring out your uniqueness, your brand, your voice, they are lessons. That's why I appreciate that when I see people who admit their failures, because those failures, you sum them up, these failures are the one that taught them, made them smart and very intelligent people. So we should not fear failure too. We have to go out.
I think failure, I'm so glad you mentioned the word failure. Failure is so important. We need to have failures in our life to understand what success really means.
To compare it.
Yes, to compare it. I'm thinking about one of my favorite writers and poets who recently passed away, Maya Angelou. And I remember, I think it was her, I think she said when she started to write and she wanted to get published, she got so many no's. She got so many rejections. And I think that happens a lot to people who are very successful. They experience those failures, but they still keep going at it over and over and over again. They don't care because they know what's at the end of the road for them. I have failed many a times, and I keep failing.
Me too.
And I keep failing every
Almost
day.
every day.
I
said something stupid, or I sent some emails that I'm embarrassed. I didn't take time to think. I remember last time I was sending an email to a friend whose name is Rob. I have two Rob friends. I thought I was responding to the other one. I was responding a different content. I was shocked when I learned that. So we make this kind of crazy mistakes.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I go out from this studio. I may make a mistake.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't change who I am.
Yeah.
And I learn from that experience.
Yes.
I become stupid when I repeat the same mistake again and again.
Right.
Otherwise, that's why many people, they are terrorized by failure. They don't want to stand in front of people because they think that they're going to be criticized.
Right.
For me, I always tell people, if you have something to offer, yes, people criticize you. Be happy, rejoice, because nobody criticizes you unless they believe that you matter.
Exactly.
I tell some people, these people, I spoke about this and they criticized me. I came up with this thing, they demolished it, and I tell them, hey, that person to demolish you, to attack you, first of all, they thought it's a privilege or it's worth to write about you, to talk about you. Let's say, if somebody doesn't appreciate or admire that person or think they are beneath them, why they criticize them?
Yeah.
People criticize you because they believe that you are important, you matter.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they ignore you.
Yeah.
There are people I ignore. They write about me or say something I hear from other people. I ignore them. I ignore them because I don't think that they're worth my time, my energy. So whenever people tell me that, I am criticized, I say, hey, you are coming out. You're going to become great. Because the first thing people notice you're unique is they notice what you're doing and they're going to criticize you. They're going to demolish you. Take lessons that are positive, because everything they write or everything they say about you may not be downgrading. There may be some lessons you should learn.
Yes.
Learn and move on.
Absolutely.
Thank them. Personally, I'm
Absolutely.
thankful to the people who confronted me. People criticized me, especially constructive criticism, because I wouldn't be here, I won't be where I want to go unless people criticize me, confront me, challenge me, especially people who care about you, people who love you, people who want you to succeed, they criticize you. They come up to you and they confront you. The people I like, the friends that I like the most are the friends that confront me. Hey, Assegid, you did this wrong. I really love them. Because these people, they're not backbiting me. They're not just saying, he's, and they don't leave me alone.
Right.
They come up to me. They correct me so that I will be better. Every weaknesses that I dropped, every stumbling blocks that I could be able to remove from my way because of people who criticized me. So people have to believe that you need people to criticize you. To criticize you, you have to bring out something so that let them see it.
Right.
If it is something doesn't deserve others people's attention, if it's weak, if it is not clear, if it's not unique, then accept the criticism, improve it, repackage it, come back again. But if you don't bring out yourself, if you don't offer, I remember when I first published my book in 2011. 2-3 people told me that, Assegid, you should have waited. You are young. You should have waited. Now, whatever you write 10 years from now, you will regret.
Oh, boy.
I don't need to wait 10 years, 5 years. The moment I published it, I found out some of my the thoughts that I expressed there are no more relevant because I grown up.
Yes, yes.
But I could be able to learn from that and see my principles and idols because I wrote something, because I present something. That's why people could be able to see that and criticize me. If I didn't write, then I wouldn't get this kind of feedback.
Absolutely. And the criticism part, and it has to be done in a very constructive way. And I think that's probably what hurts people a lot, is that if it's not done, and maybe you're able to take it harder. maybe you're.
I want to grow. I'm a leadership expert, and I'm self-aware. So when people criticize me, I don't take it negatively.
Right.
Sometimes even I invite those people. I know some people criticize me or don't like me. I don't avoid them, except some very negative people where they drain my energy.
Right.
I avoid that kind of people.
You have to,
but people who are constructive,
yes.
I like them because they help me see myself.
Yes.
They help me from stumbling in a big way.
Yes.
If they correct me now, confront me right now at the small scale level, it helps me to avoid failure in a big way.
Absolutely.
So I'm thankful to them.
Absolutely. And, those criticisms can for someone who is very soft or very mild-mannered, or somebody who doesn't have that strength yet, like you
to
have,
receive criticism.
to receive it, it could be detrimental sometimes. It could be very difficult sometimes, because I've worked with a lot of people from different backgrounds, from the legal field, from the IT field, project management field, medical field, you name it. And, they have these insecurities about themselves, they know that they're really good and strong in their profession, but they know when it comes to certain things, when it comes to public speaking or it comes to communication, that there's a portion of that where they don't succeed, they don't do very well. So I try to really make sure that I put that criticism in a way where it's encouraging. And I try to highlight first the things that are really positive about what they're doing and what they're trying to get accomplished, because it's important to have that balance. There are times in the past when people have criticized me harshly, and I've had to accept it, because I'm like, that's just going to only help me grow stronger. I'll give you a perfect example. The past 8 months or so, when I was looking for employment last year, I remembered thinking, gosh, I'm an educated woman. I have all these skills. I have all these talents. But I was getting these no's. I was getting these rejections all over the place. And I started to feel sort of like, wow, do I not have what it takes anymore? And my confidence waned. And I started to feel a little bit insecure about what I had to offer. And then I started to put things into perspective. It's all about timing. And it's all about what people are looking for right now, what employers are looking for right now. So it really didn't have to do with me. And I think when you're trying to develop your true self, you have to look at it in a way where it's not that people are trying to attack you. It's not that people are trying to take something away from you. But you have to build up that strong inside that helps you to say, okay, I'm not doing so well here. I'm not succeeding at this. I'm not able to get the results that I want, but I still have to carry on. I still have to move forward. And that's very difficult for a lot of people to do, because I could have given up and said, forget this, but I couldn't
go
do that.
home and just,
But I have goals, and we all have goals that we have to get accomplished. And so I find myself rebranding myself a lot.
Exactly.
I've rebranded myself quite a bit in the past few years. And why? It's because sometimes when you look at what's available, you may not be able to fit in a particular area. And you have to think about, okay, what is it that I need? What do I need to help me to get to that particular place? Do I need some more training? Do I need some more experience over here? Do I need to lower my expectations about maybe a salary situation? So you kind of have to rebrand yourself. And sometimes it takes you back to your core of who you are, who you truly are. And I think that's an important exercise. I've always been interested in writing. I love to write. I've always loved to read and be in the public and do public speaking, but I've always wanted to do it where I'm inspiring people. So I'm allowing those things to shine through now and to be a better part of who I'm becoming and not being afraid of it anymore, because I used to be afraid of, well, what if I fail? What if no one wants to read my book? What if no one wants to listen to me speak? But you know what? So what? What if 2 people listen and one person gets something very important out of that? Then I've succeeded. It's not about the numbers. It's the fact that someone, or maybe a few people, may have heard the message and it affected them in a particular way.
By the way, I like this part, because some people, some of our audience, they may think that, hey, this is selfish, I don't want to voice myself. I don't care about my uniqueness. I always want to serve my community, my organization. It doesn't matter whether I bring my uniqueness, whether I have a brand or not. People may have that kind of thought while they are even listening us. So I want to address that. It's not all about you, if you are thinking that way. Because as you said, it's about the people you can reach, the people you can serve. If you don't bring your uniqueness, if you don't bring your unique brand, you cannot serve your community, organization, and country. So it's not all about, when I push my uniqueness, when I say this is my passion, this is where I want to, focus. This is my mission in life. It's not about me. Some people think, oh, you are proud, you are selfish, or it's about you. People mistaken passion and focus and selfishness. But it's not about selfishness. If you understand the true meaning of serving others, denying who you are, you bring your best and serve them and deny yourself. For that matter, people who are not bringing out their uniqueness because they're afraid that they may be criticized or be called selfish or egotistical are people who don't have the gut, who don't have the love to others. If you love others, if you love your organization, if you love the world, it doesn't matter what people say about you. It's not about you. It's about the people you serve, the generation. You have to leave legacy. To do that, you have to have thick skin.
Yes, absolutely.
I like what Miles Morrow, he died, late Miles Morrow, he died last year in plane crash. He's from Bahamas in November 2014. He said that the most richest place in the world is cemetery.
Oh,
because he said that many unwritten books, unsung songs, died because people never brought out those great songs, great books, great innovations, inventions, and so on, because they were afraid.
They were afraid.
Because they didn't express who they are. They didn't bring out their product and services to the world, and died before they were empty. So the most aspiring thing for me, and I believe to everybody, should be to die empty, which means to bring out everything I have and die empty.
Yes.
That way I could be able to serve my community, my organization, and my country, and other people. So it's not about me.
Right.
It's not about my ego.
Right.
It's not about my benefit. It's about me serving by being where I am best.
Yes.
Where other people cannot serve best like I do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's really about being true to yourself. Gosh, you're so passionate about this that you make me feel even more passionate about this. Because, I mean, there's so many things that I want to do. And sometimes I do feel like, am I being selfish by, turning this thing down? I'm just only focusing here. But there has to be a focus.
You have only 24 hours.
Exactly. You have 24 hours.
You have one time to live in this world. You don't have chance to come back again and again.
Exactly.
With that one chance?
Exactly. And I'm a planner. I think by nature I'm a planner. I like to plan things. And I think that's really helped me. Knowing your strengths is extremely important in part of, to speak to trying to determine who you are and your sense of self. It's important to really identify your weaknesses. If you know what your weaknesses are, then that makes you even stronger. The fact that you can identify them and say, okay, I know I'm not so good at this. I will tell you right now, Assegid, I'm not good at math.
Me too.
I'm not a good math person. Sometimes and my memorization sometimes can be very poor. But and that's why I went to Toastmasters too. I wanted to learn how to memorize better. But if I can make a list, because I'm a list maker, I love to make lists. I will make lists of the things that are my weaknesses, areas that I'm not so good at. And I'll say, you know what, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at this. And then I'll make my list of things that I'm really good at. And I'm like, you know what, okay, these are the things I have to accentuate and possibly work on the things that I consider my weaknesses. And it's important. But it's also important that we know our limits too. About what
we
our
can do,
weaknesses
what we
and what we
cannot
can
do.
Exactly. We have to be realistic about that.
Leave to other people things that we cannot do.
Absolutely.
Best,
Absolutely. I started a business last year. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And as I started to delve deeper into the business, I realized, there are certain areas of this that I'm not going to really know because my customers were really challenging me because they were asking for certain pieces of the project that I was thinking, okay, I don't have the experience in that. I'm not the full authority here. What do I do now? And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I have a network of people. And that's where your networks become very important, and your experts and your mentors. I know a network of people who has these skills. Why not subcontract them and have them do that portion of it? So you really have to know what your limits are. And you can still bring the project or the results to a good result, but it's knowing what your limitations are.
By the way, last week we were talking about confidence and wisdom in leadership. And we talked about wisdom is knowing your weaknesses and finding other people to complement you.
Absolutely.
That's wisdom.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
By the way, I enjoyed our discussion on behalf of ESAT and our viewers. Thank you very much.
Thank you
for
much.
coming.
Good
Thank
being
you
here.
very much. Yes. Dear our viewers, this is my hope that you enjoyed our discussion. You could be young, Yes, you have time, but begin the journey of finding your voice, because that's your competitive advantage. You want to be great, you want to be successful, you want to serve your community, your organization and country, and the human race at large. Start by finding your uniqueness. You are a gift into this world, and die by giving that gift to where it deserves. Don't die before you release who you are. You may be adult, or you may be even old. You have still time. You can begin that journey today. Don't die before you release your uniqueness, before you give your best, before you serve the world with your strengths. Until I see you next time, have a wonderful time. Thank you very much for watching.